Hi Robin, here's the feedback for your Paper 2 mock exam that you did before Christmas. You've scored 3 out of 4 on question 1. His father wasn't happy to help his son with his homework, and he makes a joke to cover up his own real exam results, so 8 should have been the answer, not B. Moving on to question 2, where you were asked to write a summary of the differences between Eddie and Henry. You've done very well with this question, Robin. You've given some good examples of differences between the two. Eddie lives at home with his father, goes to regular school, more informal to his father, and his father's informal to him. Good quote to back up your point there. The fact that Eddie's being cheeky to his dad by answering him back, it shows that they have a good, fun relationship. I think if you just mentioned that, that would have gained you an extra mark as well. Henry's the complete opposite, and you've listed some of the things that are different there. He goes to boarding schools far away from where his father lives. You said that the tone that he uses is more formal towards his father, and this gives you the idea that it's a higher class family. And the fact that he has a lot of respect for his dad, and you give a quote that he repeats, "My dear father," throughout. So yeah, some good descriptions there. So if we move on and have a look at the mark scheme, level 2 says attempt some inferences from one or both texts. Well, you've done that. You've selected some appropriate references or textual details, and your statements show some differences between the texts, so we're definitely level 2. So if we move up and have a look, makes clear inferences from both texts. You do, however, I would have liked you to have gone a little bit more in depth into them. As I said before, if you did mention that the informality shows that Eddie and his dad have a good relationship, and the fact that Henry and his father, he respects him, but it's quite a distant relationship, it's not as close, that would have given you an extra mark. A couple of clear relevant texts and the statements to show the differences. So I think we'll stay at level 3, and it gives you 5 out of 8 marks for this question, so well done. Moving on to question 3. I'm very impressed with this, Robin. You've done really well here. I would say it's the bottom end of level 4 with 10 marks out of 12. You start off by telling us that the language is more formal and old-fashioned and starts off with "Dear Father." And then you go on and say multiple times, or repetition, he uses "My dear father." You've understood that he's trying to persuade his father to let them come home, so he's trying to emphasise how strongly he feels about his dad. And again, you've mentioned hyperbole, and you've understood exactly that it is exaggeration. He's trying to overemphasise the effects of living at the school, and the fact that he's trying to pull on his dad's heartstrings, isn't he, to make him think that he might never see him again if he doesn't let him come home soon. And you finish off with the very short sentence about George, and again you've understood perfectly that it's a short sentence used for dramatic effect, and to make his dad worry about George, the favourite. So yeah, it's excellent, well done. You would possibly have gained another mark or so if, when you are talking about where he uses "My dear father," you could perhaps have said that because he's not seen him for 2 years, then it probably doesn't mean "My dear father" as such. He's just using that to persuade his dad, which I think is what you've what you've meant, but you've not put it into so many words. So I think if you'd have just put that little bit in, you would have gained even more marks. So well done for that, Robin. Oh, Robin, what happened with question 4? Did you run out of time, or did you not were you not sure of what to do? I have to say, the second paragraph that you've started, it looks like you're going off on a tangent and you're not answering the question. You seem to be referring to the way that Henry and Eddie are writing and how they respect or disrespect their fathers. However, source A is actually written by J, Eddie's father, and then you're meant to look at source B, Henry's father's letter to the family friend. So you must make sure that you read the question properly and answer it. Unfortunately, I can't really give you any marks for this question, which is a shame because you've done so well on the rest of the paper. However, you have scored 18 out of 40 for the reading section of the paper, which, considering it's the first time you've attempted this paper 2, is not a bad score. And I'm very impressed with how you've answered the first 3 questions. So we just need to work on your question 4 question. So we've got 6 months to do it. So it's looking good, Robin. Keep up the good work and make sure you do your homework and hand it in for marking.